Hello, Blue Jay fans. I'm Brock Turnbull, joined as always by my co-host Jesse Schwartzman. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 9 of the We Want More Vodcast.
Winds up, takes it, goes forward, scores another one for Hopkins.
The test was just called it right in there. Shot to goal right out in front. The Blue Jays
does not wear a brace. Never has shown any adverse effects. Harrison with it. Big shot. Scores! Kyle Harrison goes high. That's it. It's over. Johns Hopkins has won its ninth national championship.
We're now joined by Coach Pete Millman. Coach, thanks for being with us another week.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So looking back at Michigan, another tight one, and that seems to be kind of the story of our season is these tight games. I think 9 of our 10 have been decided by 3 goals or less. So just kind of reflecting on Michigan, what were some key takeaways from this past weekend?
Probably more than anything, just made too many mistakes. Anytime you drop a game, that's likely to be a factor. But we had too many turnovers, too many costly ones at times. I don't think we got into our offense the way we needed to. Defensively, we had a slow start, and I think didn't quite get the urgency there that we were referencing last time we talked. And at the end of the day, that's a pretty good team that just beat Maryland the week before and playing with some confidence and executed when they needed to. So challenge for us for sure that we didn't rise to, and then we get a chance to get back at it this week.
Coach, do you think it was more on us kind of mistakes we were made, or was it things that they were doing on both ends of the field that were kind of wreaking havoc on us?
Those are tough answers because I don't ever want to take anything away from them. I think they executed a game plan. They did pretty well, but the answer to your question is that it was on us. We were not sharp where we needed to. We got a couple good looks early that didn't fall. Hit a pipe.
A lot of pipes early on.
Yeah, a lot of pipes, and I think maybe we started squeezing a little bit too tight to make some plays or make up for that. A couple earlier passes that weren't quite as open as they should have been, or we wanted them to be, and so we forced them, and then we get ourselves stuck in a little bit of a rut. We had a few transition opportunities in a row that did materialize, and we ended up playing a ton of defense in that second quarter, and so you go into halftime down a few and felt like maybe you had some opportunities that didn't fall, but we put too much on the defensive end of the field and forced them to carry a bigger load than they deserved to. We corrected a lot of that at halftime and came out in a much better place. But we were in a hole that was maybe it's too big for us to dig out, and we just didn't complete that run. When we got a little bit of a momentum in the third quarter.
Yeah, Coach, you kind of touched on a little bit there, but one thing you can say about this team is that they're never down and out. No matter kind of the slow starts or whatever, there's always a moment in the game where we kind of hit a groove and start to find momentum and put some balls in the back of the net. What would you credit that to? Is that coaching adjustments? Is that coming from the players? Is that coming from the guys and kind of learning when to flip that switch? What would you kind of credit that to?
Yeah, I don't think I would ever take the credit for that over the resilience and grit of the guys. They believe, they stay together, they stay strong. Even when we're making mistakes, I think they still have a composure about them. I think there's some excellent leaders on that side of the field. But as a coaching staff and certainly put it on myself, like I got to put them in a better position to be successful, give them some simpler game plans to execute. Put us in a position to be more focused on what our assignments are in those situations, so that we're not looking at hesitation, we're not looking at inconsistencies, we're not looking at any uncertainty. And if that's the case, then it's one of two things: either they're not aware of what their assignments are, or we're giving them too much that they can't handle. And so I think the latter was my takeaway from that one. I think we just need to give them a little bit more to chew on without giving them too much to handle.
Sure. And then it seems like we're talking about this guy every week, but Logan Callahan. I mean, the season he's been having, the performances he's been stringing together. He went 16 of 22 last week with 14 ground balls. Obviously the stats speak for themselves, but you have yourself and then Coach Cohen who really kind of specializes with the face-off unit. What have you all been seeing with Logan this year?
Yeah, I mean he's as steady as anybody. He's consistent week in week out. Playing through some bumps and bruises like a lot of guys are, but he's strong. He's really heavy on the ball when he gets a piece of it. When he gets that whistle, he punches right through a lot of counters. He's usually as reliable as we get off the ground, where he just finds a way to get through that thing with people draped all over him. Coach Cohen does an excellent job. Coach K actually works with the faceoff guys as well. I steer clear of that, and until there's an
Know
emergency
your
of some
role.
sorts. I don't. Yeah, that's not my. It's not my role. But having two faceoff coaches on staff is massive, and I think you're seeing the product of that play out. But Logan's a tough kid. He competes, and he's a physical guy that really prides himself on his craft. And I would probably have a hard time saying anybody but him, but he's been as consistent and dependable as anybody we've had on our team this year.
Awesome. All right, Coach. Um, Actually, now we're gonna toss it over to our player spotlight. So we got Zach Claiborne filling in again for Dylan Bauer, and he will actually be sitting down with Logan Callahan and let those guys kind of talk things out here. So we'll pop over to them.
Hi everyone, I'm Zachary Claiborne, a sophomore short stick midi on the 2025 Johns Hopkins men's lacrosse team. I'm sitting in today again for our regular host of this segment, co-captain Dylan Bauer. Today I'm joined with senior faceoff specialist Logan Callahan for our player spotlight. Logan, thanks for joining me today.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Bet that. Let's start by having you introduce yourself. Introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and a little bit about your family and upbringing.
Okay, yeah. So, well, I'm a senior now, as you said, but I'm from upstate New York, Victor, New York. So my brother actually played there before me, won some state championships, but then my other siblings. So my brother, after he graduated from Victor, he played at Bryant. He was an LSM there, and he graduated in 2020. And then I have a sister, Grace, who's a year below me. She's a junior at Michigan. She plays women's lacrosse there. And then I have another sister who's 2 years older than me. She goes to Loyola Chicago. She's in law school now. She doesn't play lacrosse.
Nice, nice. Big family we got. So a lot of you go by Logan, you're known as Logan, but a lot of guys on the team rarely call you that. You got the nickname Sauce. How did that come about? Where did that nickname come from?
Yeah, that's just a nickname I got here, but it was so my freshman fall when I got on campus, we had this kid named Hunter Duronsky. He's pretty famous for giving nicknames, I'd say.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I would always sit crisscross applesauce, like whenever I sit down, pretty much, unless like I'm on the couch, like I would sit crisscross applesauce on like the floor or anything, to be honest. So he started calling me applesauce, and then eventually everyone just shortened it to sauce, so everyone just calls me sauce now.
nice. I love that. I actually didn't know the backstory behind your nickname, so that seems
Yeah,
pretty spot on
Duronsky.
for Big Hunt. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you mentioned obviously big family, a lot of your siblings play sports. Just talk about growing up in such an athletic family and imagine things and tell us how things went if things got a little competitive around the house.
Yeah, I th say things are very competitive. I mean, especially me and my brother just always growing up like fighting each other, whatever it is, like mini basketball in the basement, anything like tackle football out front, just always getting after it, getting thrown around to be honest, till I got older. And then even me and my sister Grace, that's a year younger than me, we'd always play basketball against each other too in the driveway. I get pretty competitive. She was actually pretty good. But then even like things outside of athletics, just like board games or stuff like Monopoly used to get pretty high tempers to be honest, especially with me. People stealing from the bank, doing whatever they could to win.
I see. Yeah, I'm sure family game night was a competitive environment for sure. You got high academics, high priority for you. You've been two-time academic All Big Ten selection. Talk about the decision to attend Johns Hopkins and how much academics were a part of your decision to come here.
Yeah, I'd say academics definitely played a huge role. Like obviously I was looking at the lacrosse and then like I was between like a few other schools that just weren't as high academics and like I knew I wanted like a good future obviously after lacrosse set me up for a good career and job. So obviously whenever you look up Hopkins like they're at the top of the list for most categories any list. And so that's how I decided on here. I wanted to get the best of both worlds.
Oh, for sure. You came to Hopkins and you were able to get on the field and contribute right away. You shared the field with Matt Naruski, Tyler Dunn, early in your career. Talk about the bond that you have with them and how much those guys help you in your early career.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, they both helped a ton. I mean, the first day I stepped on campus, probably like I would say from that day, like I spent the most time with them for sure. Always hanging out in our face-off group, even like outside of practice. But yeah, they obviously taught me like so much about like even like mentally, just having like poise out there, like having a good mental, like not overthinking stuff, and then always like checking in on me, like looking after me pretty much, just like always like wanting the best in each other. Like we always have had a great group here, I'd say.
Yeah, I love it. I'm sure their advice and their feedback has brought you a long way. As you know, this year you're having one of the greatest Blue Jay face-off specialist seasons in recent memory. You were always strong at the X, but what's been different this year for you, you think?
I mean, I'll probably just like I don't know, like mentally, I'd say I'm just always like ready to go into every game. And like I mean, we've always had a great like group of like face-off group, including wings. But I think especially this year, like they've been like helping me out a ton, even like when I'm struggling like clamp wise or anything, and the ball's coming out 50-50, like we're coming out with it. And if I do get the clamp, they're giving me space, letting me do my thing, letting me work. And then every like week in practice, the other face-off guys like Shepard, Lane, Hobart, they're all giving me great looks, different aspects. They all have different styles. So like going against those different looks every week gets me prepared to see anything in the game and be ready to attack what's to come.
Great, I love it. Yeah, you boys, you face-off boys definitely work hard, especially in practice. So segue a little into a couple interesting questions for you, more interesting questions. All the guys on the team know that you're a huge video game guy, but the viewers at home might not know that. What are your top three favorite video games of all time, ranked?
I mean, I definitely know my top three are Fortnite, Siege, and Black Ops 3. Ordering them is gonna be tough because like I played each one for like 2 years at a time. So I'd say I mean, I gotta go with Prime Fortnite. Prime Fortnite it was just different, hit different, so fun. Then I gotta say, I don't know, I gotta go with Rainbow Six Siege. Just like I don't know, there's so much to it. It's like you learn something every time you play. It's so fun with the boys getting a little five stack going. And then lastly, but definitely not least, it's a close match for all of them. But Black Ops 3, just running and gunning, just like getting some kill streaks, like nothing better than that. Pub stomping some lobbies.
For sure. So earlier today, I didn't know this fact, but I was informed that you got a 1580 on your SAT, if that's correct, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what other guy, if you had to choose on the team, would be your partner for a trivia competition?
I gotta think. Um, I don't know. I'd say either Patrick Deans or Stu Phillips. I feel like they both have like a plethora of knowledge about like random stuff. Definitely Deans, especially like he knows just a bunch of random crap that like I've never even heard of. So I feel like he'd be a good option. And then he's got the Canadian background, so he's got that international background. He might know some more like history and stuff like that.
Yeah. Both of those boys are a good option. They got some noggins on them. Um, Rumor has it that you have the record of the most chicken parms eaten at Sammy's in one sitting. Is that true?
Actually, well, Nick Lane actually beat me the following year, but I had the record for that year, and then Laner passed me. But
What
yeah,
was what was the number? What was the number?
7 chicken parms.
Oh wow.
Then Laner
Wow.
crushed 8. But yeah, I had Coach K. Coach K was sitting next to me. He was like, say like I was on like 5, and he was saying like, "Oh, you can't eat one more. You can't eat one more." So I grabbed 2, put them on top of each other, and just like taking it one bite at a time, just getting through it. I had to prove him wrong.
Jeez, man. Jeez. All right. Outside of Lane, what guy do you think is coming close to you and Lane's record?
I've heard Forrest eats a ton. I'd have to go with Forrest. Everyone's always saying how much he eats. He can definitely put down some food. He moves the weight in the weight room too. He's a beast.
That's perfect. Tease up our last question. We know you lift heavy in the weight room. But what guy on the team would you want to go head to head with in a bench press?
Oh, like who could bench the most? You're saying probably.
Yeah. What guy you think you could out bench?
I mean, I think Teach Out, Sam Teach Out, he's got me beat probably. He's thrown on like 3 plates like it's nothing. But I would say close matchup, probably me and Scott Smith. Like, I don't know. Any given day, I feel like one of us, we're always pushing each other in the weight room. I feel like any given day, one of us can beat the other. He's a beast too.
Yep. Love it. Love it. Well, Sauce, that's all we got for today. I appreciate you joining me on our player spotlight. I had an awesome time. Hope you had an awesome time. And thanks for joining me again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Clay.
Yep. I'll see you,
Appreciate it.
buddy.
Peace.
Awesome. Zach, thank you. You're doing a great job. I think Dylan should be a little bit worried. You might be taking over here there. So
That's
coach,
right.
looking ahead, a special weekend we got coming up, homecoming. Jesse and I were kind of talking about it before, but one of the few instances where homecoming's in the spring and not at a football game. A lot of stuff going on. We're honoring a lot of our past championship teams, 1980, 1985, 2005, and then 1975 team is celebrating their 50th anniversary. So a big weekend coming up. What does this kind of mean to you?
Yeah, this is one of those special times to be a Blue Jay. You get a chance to really see the fanfare, the celebration around the program, the support and excitement for Blue Jay lacrosse. Like you said, it's Homewood in the spring. It's a rarity. We're looking forward to getting some students out there, some local folks who just enjoy spring lacrosse and get a chance to come out and watch. At a great facility, great stadium. We got a heck of a team. They're a top 5 team. They're as good as anybody competing at the top of the at the top of the competition right now. And it's going to be a challenge in every way. And I think guys are just getting excited, getting geared up for it. Things haven't gone our way a couple weeks in a row, but the focus doesn't change and where we're going. We got to straighten out a couple of the inconsistencies, some of the mistakes that we're making there. But we're getting towards the end of the regular season. We're into April, and so I think if anything, the energy and drive is ramping up as we go.
Yeah, and it's a strange schedule this year with the first week in April being our last home game, kind of true regular season home game of the year. But with Ohio State, they started off the season with an interesting loss to Utah and have banged out 10 wins in a row. We're getting a good team playing with a ton of confidence, and I think it's just what the Blue Jays need, actually. An opportunity to knock off a top 5 team in the country. They're the top of the Big Ten. In your initial kind of viewership of Ohio State, where do they really stand out?
Physicality. I think they're big and they're athletic. I think we say that about a lot of teams. This team certainly stands out in that category. They play physical on defense. They've got some big, physical dodgers on the offensive end of the field. They've always been pretty consistent system wise with their, with the game planning. They don't get too fancy. They don't try and run the whole world at you. They can get scripted at times, but right now they've got some guys that are really handling it well, working it well, and making plays when they need to. And all those things tied together, they're going to be a handful. They're really a good team. I think that's like you mentioned, that's exactly what this group in black and blue are fired up for. They want a piece of the best, and know we haven't put our best foot forward the last couple times out. So I think this is definitely something that's going to get the guys rolling.
Yeah, and then speaking from the back end inside the pipes, they have, I think his nickname is Big Tasty. I mean, they have a guy that makes me look like Jack Webb, but a great goalie, little unorthodox, but makes a ton of saves. So I know we spoke a little bit about the goalie scout and what that looks like last week. When you have a guy of this caliber, but also this size, is it the same kind of thing? We're just trying to get to good spots on the field and shoot for the net.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely it. And like we said before, I don't want the guys thinking too much about the goalie. I want them thinking more about the net. But he's one that you can't throw meatballs at the cage. And I mean he's a high quality goalie. He's takes up a good amount of space, and he's got great hands. But I think his presence and his energy is what the defense feeds off of. I think it's what he really thrives on. We need to have a disciplined approach to our shot selection so that we're not giving him any, getting him going, make him start feel good. And once he's seeing that thing and he's all over it, then it becomes a lot harder to get those shots in there when you get the good look. So we just got to have a good day in that regard. You don't always have control of how it's coming out of your stick, but you definitely have control of the ones that you're going after and the ones that you're going to take.
And right in front of Fayak is one of the best defenders in the nation, Bobby Van Buren. And talk a little about like what challenges does he pose to our offense?
He's really impressive. He's got size, athleticism, strength, speed. He's a force. There's no doubt. Matchup orientation is going to be a factor, I think, for them, because they want to get him on certain guys and make sure he's shutting down whoever he can shut down. We need to be smart, judicious about where we're going at him. You don't want to get stuck in that V hold no matter who you are. I think he's got the strength to move people pretty well. But we got to keep him busy. We got to keep him occupied. We got to manipulate the defense in ways that benefit us. And that takes a group effort, not just any one matchup. But he's as impressive as anybody that you'll watch on film and certainly live as well. He's been their top guy basically since he got there. So it's no surprise that he's continued to develop his game.
Yeah, and coach, I know most teams are a little banged up come this time of year. We're especially banged up, especially in the offensive zone. Our starting attack unit is down. I mean, from the beginning of the year, we're down 2 starters. We're moving a lot of pieces. How's the kind of overall health of especially that unit? Are we going to see some guys coming back this week? And who are we looking to potentially step up and fill a void right here?
There are some guys that are working their way back in, and we're getting close. That's a possibility. You can see some of them in this weekend. I'm not entirely sure enough to comment on that right now. But really, I think more than anything, the guys just need to accept that this comes with the territory. It's sometimes it can there could be an unlucky element to it. We need to play smarter and more disciplined, but we can't harbor any emotions or any feeling of loss because of guys that aren't in there. We need to embrace who's up, who's the next man in. Their expectation is to get out there and do their job, execute with their assignments. I'd love to have full health, like you said. Not many teams are at that at this point. We've taken a couple more bumps than maybe we were expecting or hoping for. But I have every bit of faith in the group that we have. If they're not the most experienced group in the country, then, like I said before, we got to simplify a little bit more, making sure we're staying on the same page. We're gonna have to ride the guys that we know have the ability to make the plays and have proven through their experience to be able to do it. But we can't bury those guys throughout the game as well. We got to make sure that there's some balance there, and we're we're in a workmanlike mode with a full team of guys. I mean, whoever's not in, we still got guys. I would, I would challenge the ones that we have here on a regular basis to say it's time to step up, and I'm fully expecting them to go into it with that game plan, with that mentality.
Absolutely. Switching sides of the field here, Coach. Our defense has a offense coming in that's very balanced, a lot of good players. What's Coach K's approach to defending this unit? What's kind of some points of emphasis this week?
I mean, I think he, really digging into to the focus on our assignments and making sure that those role responsibilities are maintained throughout. We talked a little bit before. They're deliberate at times, and they're gonna, bring you to spots that they want you to be in for certain reasons, and we need to make sure that we're prepared for those because they're going to go at right at what they're looking for. And if there's some adjustments in the game plan going in, or if there's some adjustments in game, we need to be able to handle those things in stride and maintain some clarity in what our responsibilities are. There's a lot of things that happen in real time that don't come out like they're scripted. And, there's not an answer for every one of those things in your head at times. You just need to make sure you keep it simple and work the process. What's next, on the mission. And I believe that they go through the proper planning and game planning with that stuff. I think Coach K is excellent as a strategist, and even better probably as a teacher. But like we've seen on both sides of the field, like there's been times where we just haven't been in the right mindset when we needed to be, and we haven't had the focus on what our assignment is. There's some inconsistency about whether we were going this way or that way, and we got to sort those out ahead of time because that can't be a factor of how we're going to handle things in real time against the top 5 team. So that's definitely the biggest emphasis this week of digging in, just clarity, consistency, making sure that we're simplifying wherever we can so that guys are able to play faster.
Right, and it's almost like to tack onto what you said, even if you're not doing the right thing, just be confident in what you're doing and don't think about it and just go full speed. And I think that when you hesitate a little bit, that's when we're losing the ground ball battles, and that's when we're kind of missing those second slides. So that stuff's spot on. Talk to us a little bit about practice this week. Who I know it's only midweek, it's Wednesday now when we're filming, but who's the leading candidate for practice player of the week this week?
Practice player of the week this week. I've been focusing a lot of time with the first offensive group for obvious reasons. We need to turn a corner there. Yep. I've been in the office with Collison every day, just kind of working through some stuff, maybe making sure that there's questions that are out there that we get them answered, that we get some response to what we need to get changes to. Holding Dylan Bauer and that whole group to a standard of excellence that they can expect to translate to game day. Those are our leaders. I don't have any doubt that they have the ability to respond to that. I know Coach K and the defensive end are in a lot of the same camp. I think, you're going to expect Jack Monfort to step up in a big way this week. There's a couple younger guys that are, chomping at the bit to get on the field or to earn a role. You might see some new guys working their way into face-off wings and, additional short stick D midi or second line midfielder. Liam Burke was a really tough competitor today, for sure. Some other guys just taking advantage of their opportunities, but there was a different environment, I think, on practice today.
Good. Well, every week presents a new opportunity. No better opportunity than getting a 10-1 team in your home field on homecoming. We wish you guys nothing but the best, Coach. Get it done on Saturday. And we got Stephen Pizer coming on to join us today, which I'm especially excited about, being a teammate of his for a long time. And he was on the 2005 and 2007 team. We'll be honoring the 2005 team at halftime. So best of luck to you, Coach. We're going to go talk to Stephen now.
Thank you, guys. That should be great. Looking forward to it. Appreciate all the support. Excited for a great weekend at Homewood.
Absolutely. Take care.
He needs surgery in the next 10 days.
Felt the shooting pain in my knee.
I don't know what I did, but I did something. I stepped off to the side again and it buckled.
The plan is to get you to run again, and the plan is to get you back to where you were. We can fix this.
To know that I could be back out there.
You know, I'm way better now than I was pre-surgery.
Welcome to Johns Hopkins.
All right, fans, we're here with Alumni Spotlight. Stephen Pizer, class of 2008. Stephen, thanks for being with us today.
Awesome to be here, Brock.
Yeah. So start us off. Tell us a little bit about, what you've been up to since graduating and, how kind of Hopkins has prepared you for the professional world.
Yeah, I graduated in 2008. Went straight into it. I started my first day in the finance world was at a bank, JP Morgan, and started on September 15th, which was the day that Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy. We went into a pretty big financial crisis, if you guys all remember that. So I kind of joke. I was like Bane. I was born in the dark a little bit in the game of finance, and so I spent about 4 years there, and spent most of my time. I've been in the business 16 years. Most of my time, on the sell side, working for different banks. I spent 11 years at B of A, a couple of years at Goldman, and then I started at JP. And throughout that time, I was playing professional lacrosse for about 6 seasons. Got to play against Schwody and get stoned by him a bunch of times in Denver, flying around in Mile High. And I think he knew where I was shooting the whole time. But yeah, so I spent about 6 years, kind of parallel life with lacrosse and professional. I was really lucky to be on the 2010 World Team with Paul, and special time to be, to kind of go out to Manchester and win that with him. And he was unbelievable in that tournament. And then, ever since I just switched over to the buy side, I'm working at a fund called Balayasny, doing very similar stuff that I was doing. I've got 3 kids now and a wife, and I live in Connecticut. So that's what I'm up to. My little guy's just started playing lacrosse. He's 6 years old. He's running up and down the field. My parents are coming to the games. My dad's yelling at him like it's me.
So nothing has changed,
It's
really. I
awesome.
see with Big Mike.
It's awesome. He's
Yeah.
he's on Gunner. He's on Gunner. He's yelling at him to get the GBs. It's great. We're having a ton of fun.
That's
So,
awesome. Yeah, we actually Steve knows this, but for our listeners, I also have 3 kids, and Jack started lacrosse last Friday night, and we're doing this clinic. And I was actually talking to my dad this morning because we used to do this in the backyard where it's like, all right, we throw and catch. We had 5 in a row. And then the next day, we're not going in until we get 6 in a row. Well, last night, Jack and I, who's 5 years old, we got 24 in a row,
let's go.
throwing it back and forth. And I was just so proud. So that's awesome.
I'm doing
Steve,
the same thing. Yeah.
It's incredible. So back to some real world and
Yeah.
finance stuff. There seems to be a lineage between Hopkins lacrosse and people going to Wall Street. I couldn't cut that because I couldn't get through the economics at Hopkins, but a lot of people do.
Me neither.
What do you think? What do you think is the is it just because, oh, this is what the legends have done in previous years, the Mitchells and the Sauls and the whatever it is? Or is there something in the blood in the water at Homewood that is like, you know what? I think I want to go be like Mike Bloomberg or something.
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, Sal was a big reason why I joined that side of the business. The lacrosse, I mean, Hopkins had everything to do with where I ended up professionally. When I was a sophomore, I interned with Brian Kark, and I was running around with them, trying to help them do their real estate deals up in Connecticut and New York. And he told me we were going to go and visit one of his buddies at SAC, and we go in and we show up and we're sitting down with Sal. And I just remember walking into that place, and I was on your side of the game, and the real estate game. I thought that's what I want to do. I show up to this place, I meet with Sal, and I was just like, the feeling here. What is this? How do I be a part of it?
Give me more.
How do I be a part of it? And so, I got pretty lucky. Coach Petro grabbed me one practice, and he was like, "Hey, Sal gave me a call. He wants to know if there's any like really hungry guys that want to, take a shot at an internship." I told him on the spot I would do it. It was pretty fortuitous. The place like really wowed me when I was there for an hour. and had just a really awesome experience there. And that kind of jumped me into it. I met a ton of people through networking and lacrosse. I gave kids, guys, little kids that like my guy lessons when they were 7 and 8 years old. And, they brought along people and, it just really, really was instrumental in my professional career. Now, like Hopkins, I know we're trying to get back to the glory land. At the time, the program was just in an incredible place. I mean, we had won in '05. We had been knocking on the door for, many years from like, Michael Pizer when he was, a senior losing to Virginia. And like, I cried at that game. And, it's just, I remember meeting you in the stands at one of the playoff games. That's where we had our first hug. And so there was something really special about that program. I actually didn't think I was going to go to Hopkins, and wound up just like 11th hour, just not being able to go where the heart was. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
you know how it is. Like you bleed that color when you're there, and
100%.
and you still do. I got the tat to prove it, and yeah, it's just I think the just Petro and the sport and the university provides so much opportunity for you to get into the game. And it's just up to the individual, right? Like who wants to pursue it. And Hopkins was amazing for that.
Yeah. And kind of the name is synonymous with Hopkins lacrosse, with obviously you said Michael and then Greg and yourself. Was getting an opportunity to play with Greg, who is the middle brother. Was that a big factor for you in choosing Hopkins?
I mean, aside from, being really emotional about the program for a decade, it was a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And, getting to play on a midfield line with Greg against Virginia. And I remember in that game, Greg had migrated down because we needed a stronger midfield line. And I remember him, I remember getting the ball and just being like, where the hell is Greg? I got to get him the ball. Because like, it was his time, right? Like, so that was really special. And, it was me, him and Malo running
Yeah,
the second
it's just an
line.
incredible group of guys.
Yeah.
And just the confidence that Greg played with and has in life. I mean, it's just unmatched. I mean, people don't know this, but Kyle Harrison was walking out for that faceoff in '05 against Virginia, and Greg was like, you get back, I'm taking this. And Petro's
I think
just
he
like,
played the wing, right? Harry on the wing
yeah,
was a good setup.
Harry went on the wing. But
Yeah.
Greg just knew. He's just like Waddy told me after I gave up the goal. He goes, "What are you upset about? We're going to go get the face-off, go down and score, and then we'll beat him in overtime." I'm like, that is to even be able to say
12
that
seconds left.
with your career in jeopardy with 12 seconds left
What a
is
game.
awesome.
What a
So
game.
that this week is the 20th and they're honoring our team at
Yeah.
Homewood Field, 20th anniversary. What's one kind of, obviously the championships and all that was great, but 20 years ago in '05, you're just a little young buck freshman
Yeah.
out of Cold Spring Harbor. What do you remember? What's one thing that you remember most, or one kind of great memory of that season?
I mean, there are so many. I remember like we were the worst undefeated team in history of
Ever.
sports. I think we won 9 1-goal games. That was
5 overtimes.
we were down 5 goals to Navy, and Harry and Greg in that game, like I mean, to be a part of that was so special. Harry hitting that shot, literally like insane, at Homewood. And then, you just knew, like, you knew that you weren't going to lose on Homewood. Like that was what was special about that program during that time. It was like Homewood was such sacred ground, and we just did not lose there. I think my team lost, but I think you may have on the team to Albany.
We lost to Maryland. Joe Walters scored like 6 goals
Joe
on
Walters
me.
had 6 goals. Yep,
Yeah.
that's fair.
That was a tough look.
Yeah,
But
he's a
no,
good
I
player.
mean yeah, he was a good player. But we got the better of them most times.
But
And you know I was going to say, what's interesting about you in particular, and really Greg, is that you guys are true throwbacks. You don't see guys that face off anymore because their sticks look like this and are cockeyed. So how could you realistically play an offensive shift with a stick like that. But you guys did. You went out with your proton, you faced off. If you won it, you stayed on. If you lost it, you stayed on and played defense and then stayed on and played offense. Like,
Yeah.
you guys were remarkable people.
Thank you.
Where
Wow.
does that come from?
That's high honor. That's what we did our whole lives, honestly. Like from the beginning of playing lacrosse, I was going out for the draw, and Greg was a special guy at the X, and so I got to learn from him, and Michael used to beat on us in the backyard, and that was awesome. Like, I mean, the battles between Michael and Greg were hysterical. And it was just something that I think, we wanted to be on the field the whole time. And if you're taking the draw and you win, you're staying on. And like you said, you're staying on and play defense too if you lose. And I think we just wanted to be on the field, like, and to play. We had that was just our mindset. The stick thing was a problem. I mean, I used to pick up a ground ball, my stick would be over here, and I'd be pulling it over to throw a pass to Jake Bird down the side. So that was definitely a problem. But just to go back to like the memories of that season, Schwody, for a second, like, that game versus Navy, the early rounds against Marist and scoring at
UMass and
UMass
Providence.
and running Quaff and scoring and then running down and scoring and then running down and Pete Lasore hugs you. He's like, well, there's one more on the backside. I'm open next time. I just love that memory. And just what a special team with Rook. And I mean, it was awesome. And then Paul, like the role he played, you go back to those highlights of the Final Four and like, him picking up a GB at the other end of the field, running down Benson Irwin. I mean, I get chills thinking about those moments after, you obviously saved the ball. Like it was such a special season, and it built that program. That was in the making for many, many years.
Absolutely. And it's incredible to think back, like you just said. I mean, when people think about lacrosse in 50 years, the name Paul Rabel, Kyle Harrison, those are going to be names that are at the forefront. And the fact that you and I were fortunate enough to play with those guys, heckle those guys a little bit, and for me professionally, just absolutely owning those guys professionally was awesome. But being able to play against them every day in practice,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what made me who I am. It's like, to be the best, you got to go against the best. And we were so
Absolutely.
lucky and
Yeah.
fortunate to be able to do that day in and day out.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, what that was, because you don't know, like you're watching it in the making. And I go back one further to the Syracuse game where Greg scored the overtime goal and Paul steps into first midfield and like, holy crap, I'm sitting on the bench, I'm sitting on second midfield trying to get a run with Jameson, and all of a sudden Paul has four, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
this guy is special, and
Incredible.
so that was the moment I think he jumped off. I mean, that was it. That Cuse game up at the Dome.
Yeah, but GP coming down there lefty and then just
Oh,
switching it to the right hand and
from
whizzing that one.
18 yards off hip.
Oh,
Whew,
legendary.
never forget it.
And then I'll say one more thing before and sorry, Brock, for kind of dominating this conversation. But, when we were playing in Final Fours, that was at a time where there were 50, 60,000 people coming to the game. That
Wow.
with TV and club schedules and playing in these little stadiums, that's just not the same anymore.
No.
Talk a little bit about, I mean, I know personally just running out of the tunnel and seeing the bottom and the middle level completely full at the link. I mean, that's chills, and then when UVA went on that run and they were taking all the momentum and there's hot dog wrappers and Gatorade bottles kind of flying by, I'm like, holy smokes, this is a movie. What do you remember just about playing in front of 50,000 people? I mean, that's something that we'll never ever do again.
I remember that stadium, the link being, I mean, that, people were witnessing one of the greatest games of all time. And you couldn't hear in the huddle, you couldn't hear what was going on. That game was played on instinct. And,
Yeah.
and it was really like, it was moving so fast, and then the lightning delay and coming back out with, Greg Raymond in the locker room, and like that whole memory of just being like, we're good, we're at ease, like we're good, we're gonna be all right. And then Harry coming out and scoring right in the opening play, like there has, I don't think there has been an environment like that in lacrosse at a Final Four since. And I wonder why that is. You make some good points, but I think the game's got to try hard to get people of these Final Fours. They're special times, and like you know how it is. That was an especially electric moment, and as you know, it was a game that everyone will remember.
Yeah, I mean, I think just with TV and technology and the access to the sport is so much easier. But I mean, I have great memories of going to College Park or Rutgers as a kid and watching a Final
Totally.
Four. I mean, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Awesome. Well, Steve, we want to be mindful of your time, but just kind of one last question. Any words of advice or wisdom that you'd pass on to the next generation of lacrosse players?
At Hopkins, or just the little guys?
Just in general.
I would say for the little guys, there's a video that actually Paul made of, he's got the book and the 100 shots a day. I watched that video and I get emotional, because that is what it takes. So if you're a little guy and you want to be a lacrosse player and you want to know like how to get there, watch Paul Rabel's video on taking 100 shots a day. That is what it takes, and nothing short of it. And if you're not gonna be committed to that in that way, then it's gonna be hard to, especially with the talent level in this game right now. It is just everywhere. It's gonna be hard to be, play at that level. And then for the Hopkins guys, it goes so fast. I mean, I remember hitting down the tiles in the tunnel, screaming at Maryland kids as they were walking across the front of our, the face of our locker room, and just putting fear into them, and like it was yesterday, and it was literally, now 20 years ago.
Remarkable.
It goes so fast. You don't have a lot of time. Put in as much as you can, because it's just blink and you're out in the real world. So it's a special time to be at that and to put on that jersey. I really think, like, I used to look at that jersey and be like, "Holy," like, and put it on and be like, that was it. It was like a gladiator moment. And so I would just say, really respect that jersey. It's got magic.
Awesome. Well, dude, I know we could talk for hours about this, and we will another time. But
Yeah.
I know you're super busy and you have a new gig, so you don't want to be on the you don't want to get off to a bad start. But good luck, in the
Boys,
new
this was awesome.
gig, and
This
we
was
look
a lot of
forward to
fun.
seeing you soon, buddy.
I'll be down this weekend. All right. See you guys.
I'll see you.
Thanks.